favorite thing, and they are a great thing. You're going to really enjoy them once you get the hang of them. The trick to remember is that you've just learned a new language called HTML, and now you're going to learn a whole nother language. It's kind of like the difference to me would be like the difference between learning South American Spanish or Central American Spanish or Castilian Spanish. You have somewhat the same goal, somewhat the same style, and yet some things are very different. So get ready and take your time and follow the tutorial, watch the book closely, and you'll do fine. So, CSS is used to format the web pages that you've been creating with HTML, and it offers many advantages. Mostly, layout is the newest great thing about CSS3. You have greater consistency on a website, not just on a web page, as this slide says. And you can easily modify code site-wide by just changing it in your style sheet, which gives you more flexible formatting. Here's the history of CSS. Pause it if you want to read it. And we're going to look at how to define a style rule. It's a combination of three parts: a selector, a property, and a value. Don't get too caught up in those words right now, but basically we're going to use this to modify how something looks in HTML. So let's keep going so that I can actually give you examples of what this looks like. A style sheet is a collection of one or more style rules. Rules that tell how your page looks and how it's laid out. They can either be within the HTML document that you have created or in a separate document. We're going to start by defining color. There are 16 basic color names. They're probably in the back of your textbook, but they're easily Googleable. And then there's a more extensive list of color names in CSS3, and you can see we can use either the color name, the hex code, or the RGB triplet to describe the color. Now, an inline style is a style rule that is embedded inside an HTML start tag. We're going to play with those a little bit, but ultimately it's just practice, because the whole point of CSS is that you're not using it inline. You're using it at the top of the document or in a separate document all by itself. But we're going to play with it just a little bit, and you're going to see how it's different from the HTML rules that you've been using. An embedded style sheet is a set of style rules contained between the style start tag and the closing style end tag in the head section of an HTML document. So, since it's in the head section, that means you're not going to be able to see that text on the page. Remember, the head of the HTML document is behind the scenes, and the body is what people see, except for the tags that modify it, that tell it how to look. So the syntax for that is we say caret, what do we call that? Bracket style type equals quotation text slash CSS close quotations every single time. Every single time. That's the same, unless we're going to link it to an external page. But for internal embedded style sheets, this is the syntax for that. And you can see in this example that H1 is a heading, and that we're going to say the font color is orange. Except in CSS you don't say font color, you say color. And we're going to say that it's aligned in the center. And then we're going to say for H2s, they're going to be green. And you see here in the page the result of those commands. Bam, that looks different, huh? That's because I applied a different style in PowerPoint to this PowerPoint presentation. And the way that PowerPoint works, or Word, is that you have a set of style sheets that tell the PowerPoint presentation how to look. HTML is the same way. With the changes to just the style sheet, it changes the entire presentation. You see, so we're looking at a completely differently styled PowerPoint presentation now because I changed the style sheet in PowerPoint. I didn't have to use HTML because with PowerPoint it's a WYSIWYG user interface, and so I just selected a different theme. When you are using an external style sheet, Now back to this. When you're using an external style sheet, you need to use the link element to link the external style sheet to the web pages. Instead of just having style at the top, it's a link to another page, that page that has the styles on it. The style rules are added to that style sheet, whatever it is, and the last three, the extension on it is .css, and then linked to the index page, which causes them to be applied. One style sheet can be linked to many web pages, which is ideally the way you go. And more than one style sheet can be linked to a web page. So here's what that looks like. Now remember, we already saw this little bit, this quotation mark text / CSS, but this is what the link looks like. Link href equals. So it's not a href, as we linked in HTML, it's link href equals, and then the address, the page, is probably just not, there's probably not a path, it's just a page there on in your same folder, unless you have a folder for style sheets because you have multiples, and then you would have maybe the path would be whatever you call it, style sheets / style.css or whatever you want to call it. We say the relationship is, it's a style sheet, and we say the type equals text / CSS. So here we see the link element. If we have an external style sheet, link href equals taxi_layout.css. You see, let me go back a bit and show you how that's different from when we had it before. This one was just style type. This is when it's embedded. Now, I know this is a bit confusing right now, but bear with me. You're going to have to work with this for it to take hold. But the style type embedded on the same HTML page that you're saving everything else with, this is the syntax in the head of your document. Style type equals text / CSS. But if you have an external style sheet, which will affect multiple pages, then it looks like this. Link href equals, in the name of that page, and then relationship equals style sheet, and then type equals text / CSS. So in this case, we're going to do some things to this page. We're going to set the background color as orange. Here, we're going to make this heading white, and the background color here is chocolate, although it looks like orange here. So let's get on with that in Notepad++. Looking at page 139. We begin by opening, as it says on page 139, in our text editor, which is Notepad++, the files t3.htm within our IMED 1316 folder, within our tutorial 3 folder, within our tutorial folder, index_t3 htm, services, and I'm holding down the control key to select multiple pages, and Toronto. Open, and look, all three are open. We're going to save each of them without the T3, so file, save as, and I'll just take out the T3 underscore, file, save as, again removing the T3 underscore, and file, save as, again removing the T3 underscore. So these are my documents, and I need to put in tutorial 3 and my name and the date, and then copy that to each of the documents. And then save all of them, file, save all, or Control-Shift-S. Now let's go back to the index page. Click the FAQ, services, and About Toronto links to view the corresponding web pages. Okay, so we're supposed to be looking at this in our browser. Hang on. So in Chrome, I can open a page by going Control-O, Alt-O, Shift-O. What is it? Well, it was Control-O, and I was just too impatient. And then index.htm. And this is what we're beginning with on this assignment. And so we're supposed to click these and see what the pages look like. But anyway, this is what the pages look like. They're a bit boring. Back to Notepad++, and make sure I open that FAC T3 also. And save as without the T3. And copy this. Now I've caught up with myself, haven't I? Okay. So, we turn the page. And we can turn to page 142 for the next tan box after reading about CSS, which I've already told you. And it says, to view in your web browser, open the Extended Colors HTML file from the Tutorial 3 folder. Okay. Back here. Extended Colors. So we have this list with all the colors, all the web safe colors for CSS. You know, even though you can see the color here, it's going to look different on different browsers. It's going to look different using a projector. It's going to look different on a handheld device. But this is kind of, you know, the best we can do with such a variety of technologies out there. So don't get too hurt if you want maroon and it looks burgundy, Aggies. Same thing for the colors. These are the same colors that you would use for that. And on page 143, it talks about understanding hex codes and RGB triplets for defining color. So we're going to dig in on page 144 to apply an inline style to our index.html page. And remember what I told you, an inline style is really, we're just playing with it right now just to see an instant result. It says position the insertion point after the 1 in the H1 starter tag in the body. There's the body. Here's the H1 starter tag. Insert a space and then type the following as shown in figure 3.5. Style equals color, colon, orange, semicolon, quotation mark. Now this is pretty much the syntax for CSS. You open it and close it with a quotation mark here for color, and this is where you're telling it what to do, and this is where you're telling it how to do it, and this is what you're talking about. I know that sounds kind of vague and generic, but the more specific terms are in the book, which you're supposed to be reading, and so I'm not going to use those same terms over and over and confuse you by not giving you different words to help you understand. Just remember that any style rule you apply has to be ending in a semicolon. That's all you need to know for now. So let's save that and go back to our index page and see what happens to our H1 file. Home is index. And look, I just pointed at my screen. You didn't see that, did you? Anyway, our H1 changed to the color of orange. It's kind of yellowish orange, but that's how that works. That inline style rule changed it. Now let's look at an embedded style sheet. An embedded style sheet is the set of rules I told you contained between the style start tag in the head. So we don't have that here yet. So we're going to create an embedded style sheet. We're going to go to this page and we're going to delete the one we just did and just let that stay in H1. And then in the head section after the title tag, here's the head, here's the title. So after that, type style, type equals quotation mark text slash CSS, close quotation, close your bracket, and then enter